Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. If you're looking for us, you found us. We are the Card Subject to Change podcast. I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. I'd be remiss if I did not mention my tag team partner. We are the co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. We are fighting champions. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, it's been a long weekend, but I am feeling absolutely fantastic. Pun intended there, since we have since we're dealing a lot with Absolute Pro Wrestling this weekend with our podcast yesterday. I know the youngest bull in the clan had some wrestling going on his end, but not the type we deal with on a regular basis.
No, the wrestling I know far more or less about, but still it's entertaining to watch. I want to thank Zach Takis for filling in for me and helping CZ out up in Waterloo yesterday as we record this with the Absolute Pro Wrestling podcast pre-show party. I know I talked to you late last night on your way home about the show. You said you had a great time, another fun show up with Absolute. So I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But, yeah, definitely a fun wrestling weekend for you, it sounds like.
Very much so. Everything went well. I had a lot of fun. And I'm so excited for what's to come here because we've got another great week of wrestling. And I'm excited to talk to our guest today because he made a brief appearance back in October when Zach and I did our second podcast party up in Waterloo. But this is the first time we're going to have a chance to sit down and talk to him, get to know him a little bit, and we're going to bring him in right now. Please welcome into the studio, Vicious Viktor Payn. Victor, how are you today, sir?
Yo, I'm feeling rough after last night. I'll tell you what. Got the boots laid to me. So yeah, sorry about my voice too. By the way, it's a little rough. But no, other than that, other than being sore, the typical 15 guys stomping you out, what can you do?
Absolutely. Right.
Well, we hope this interview here is less painful than the pain you're going through right now, suffered from last night. But I'm gonna handle you as a first-time guest because I've never had a chance to sit and talk with you. Yeah, and I always ask our first-time guests the same question. I'm going to ask you, why professional wrestling? What got you hooked, and what's kept you here this whole time?
What got me hooked, honestly, is it was Ultimate Warrior. I seen him when I was 3, and that was it. It was wrestling after that for me. Watching it with my grandpa at my grandma's house with my dad. My dad hated it, but he eventually started to like it because I was watching it. And
sure,
it's just that. I just seen it and I always, as a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. Every time they'd ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Pro wrestler. Like, that was always my answer. So it's always just been there. So yeah, I've always been a fan since day one. So
what was it that drew you in particularly? Was there a particular, you mentioned the Warrior. Is there a match that you remember that really was that brilliant moment?
Really can't say a match specifically. Like, I was a Goldberg kid too. So,
okay.
Goldberg was my guy. Like, if it didn't involve Goldberg when I was a kid, I didn't give a crap about it. So it was like, no, I don't care. If it ain't Goldberg wrecking dudes, I don't want to deal with it. So that's really my earliest memories, Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, that type of. I hate Hogan. Like I can't even. I'm on Iron Sheik level type of fuck Hulk Hogan. Sorry for the language, but
it's okay, man.
And the story behind that is everybody always asks me why I hate Hulk Hogan. Like, yeah, my dad, when I was a kid, we had the Ultimate Warrior costume and a Hulk Hogan costume on the rack, and he's like, "Which one do you want?" And I said, "Warrior." He got me to Hogan, and I've hated Hogan ever since.
Oh, man.
And Hogan's never been on the table for me. I've always been a F Hulk Hogan guy. So,
I've been watching a lot of Nitro back from when it first started. Sure. And I'll be honest, I drank the Kool-Aid. I was all in on Hulk Hogan when I was a kid growing up. But watching him back, Nick and I have had this conversation several times. How is he the biggest babyface ever with the shit that he does?
No idea.
He's sitting there.
I never got it either. After
guys, wrapping people in the back. I don't get it.
Right. There gets to a point where you see past the facade of wrestling as a kid and you get like, oh, what? And then you see the repetitiveness and the same, like his attitude all the time, I guess. And like you notice more of that stuff as you get older. And I just never been a Hogan guy.
Understandable.
No, I get that. You raised some good points about him, and you talk about Hogan. You talk about Goldberg. I'm going to ask: were you more of a WCW guy than a WWE?
Yeah, my
guy?
dad was more of a WCW guy, so he would want to watch.
So that tells me something. The fact that your dad didn't like wrestling, and then comes around and has a preferred brand. So you must have done a pretty good job of convincing him be, hey, this is fun, Dad.
TV
Come be a wrestling fan.
So if Dad wasn't in control of the remote, it was on, what was it, TBS or
TNT.
Or TNT, that's right, TNT or USA. So, I mean, it was either or.
So I want to go back a little bit. You're talking about Goldberg, and I'm going to ask a hotbed question here. What were your thoughts at Starrcade 98 when Scott Hall tased Goldberg and cost him the title?
I think it could have been done a little different, but I don't know. A lot of people say it was just Nash and Hall going into business for themselves and all that. And that's like, who knows? We weren't there. It was a shady situation for sure. So did I think it did right to Goldberg at the time? No. For what he was doing in that run, sure, he might have been smashing jobbers left and right, 176 of them or whatever. But like, there's a point to that. You're leading up to something to get to that payoff. I don't think it was worth it for that payoff. And for him to turn around to the finger poke of doom.
I was just going to say that led to one of the most infamous moments in wrestling history.
The worst, probably one of the worst moments in wrestling history.
Oh man. And that just completely tore WCW down. And that was the start of their downfall.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
We've got Viktor Payn from Absolute Pro Wrestling World in the studio with us here on the Card Subject to Change podcast. I'm never wrong, Nick Bull. He's the Wizard CZ. I'm going to ask you another Goldberg question because, to be honest with, we really don't talk a lot about Goldberg on here. Yeah. We kind of, you've been probably one of the few people that's brought up Goldberg that you were, a fan and following, and that's fine. I want to ask you this: is he going to get the retirement match here coming up in WWE before Mania or maybe at Mania? Well, I don't think he'll do it at Mania because I think that'll be John Cena's spotlight.
Right.
But is Goldberg going to get that farewell match this year? And if he does, who do you want it to be against?
Oh, man. I'd rather not, just because his last few showings just have not been that great. So that the one with Taker, that should have been him and Taker's last. Both of them be done. Both of you should be.
I know.
Don't ever do it again. Like, tie up the boots, guys. Come on. And I know I have no right to say that because I'm only in the business 4 or 5 years now, but it's hard to watch stuff like that. So knowing that we're trying to keep our opponents safe, they're trying to keep us safe, and to watch two veterans of the game like that be so unsafe, it sets a bad precedent in my opinion. Like, nobody wants to see you guys get hurt. Nobody wants to see you guys hurt each other like that, like in a life-threatening type of way. But I guess getting back to the retirement, does he deserve one? I mean, no, because he's already had one. How many retirements has he had? You know, these guys like Ric Flair, for example, last match. Now he's talking about having another last match.
Oh, God, I hope not. Because
you can't, dude. You almost died in your last one.
Everybody watched him almost die a couple times during that match. Yeah, we don't need that. No,
like, don't do it. There's a point where you get. It's the same in like MMA. You have a legacy, and then you go past your expiration date on that legacy. It starts to tarnish everything you've already done, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, you were great once, but you can stop when you're great. Like, don't you know? You have nothing else left to prove, so why try to? You know?
Okay.
That's how I feel about Goldberg. Like, you've done enough. Like, you took the championship off of Bray Wyatt when nobody wanted you to. Okay, like, nobody wanted that except Vince, and they did it, and it was like, what a big mistake. So.
Let's talk about his run in the WWE a little bit. I want to, obviously you talk about Bray Wyatt and him dropping the title to Goldberg. I agree. Nobody wanted to see that. But let's go back in time. Do you think he was handled well when he was first brought in? And the match that sticks out most to me as one of the most infamously awful matches is his match with Brock Lesnar with Stone Cold as the referee.
Oh, wow.
WrestleMania 20.
Right. I haven't even thought of that match in a long time, I guess. But
and
yeah,
leave it to CZ to bring up the crap match. Thank you.
No, I don't know. I mean, God, I forgot all about that match.
It's probably good you did. It's probably good you did.
I'm trying to think of, like, obviously Brock probably won, right? Or did Goldberg win that?
Goldberg went over.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yep. Goldberg went over.
Was that WrestleMania? You said 20?
That was WrestleMania 20 with Stone Cold, the quad riding Stone Cold Steve Austin as the referee.
What year was that? 2006? No.
4.
Oh,
no, it'd been 2004?
2004.
2004, yes.
Shit. Because I remember a lot of my, I
No,
got CTE and
2003. 2003.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, 23 was in 07 because I went to that one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, getting back to the Brock Goldberg, I don't know. Those are two big dudes that throw it. So getting, like me last night, got gassed. You go in there and throw a little bit, you get gassed, and then that's when the mistakes happen. And that's when it's what we try to avoid. But sorry, I forgot the question.
Oh, I said if he had one more match in WWE, who would you want him to be going against?
Who would I want him to go against? Gosh, there's so many viable players right now in the WWE. There's so many guys that could go with him and could get probably something good out of him. I don't know, like a Braun Breaker or a Sheamus even. Like Sheamus is, close to that too. So I think Sheamus can still go. So I think he proved that.
I do too.
I watched him and Braun from this morning, and I was like, wow, that was. I thought Sheamus was going to win, but I think they might say that for Mania. But yeah, I'd say probably somebody like a Braun Breaker or I guess Jacob Fatu. I could watch Jacob Fatu beat the shit out of Goldberg for a minute.
Dude, how fun was it? Hey, I don't know if you've watched the rest of Saturday night's main event, but how fun was it watching Jacob Fatu just beat the crap out of Braun Strowman?
A guy like, see, I would say Braun Strowman, but we've already seen Goldberg Braun.
Yeah.
When Goldberg put Braun over, like, which made sense. That made sense. That's what everybody wanted to see. But like Oh man, Jacob Fatu, that dude is something else.
He is. He's an absolute monster. I think they just need to take him off the chain and just let him.
I think they are. They got a new name for the tribal werewolf or whatever. So
yeah.
I was like, come on, let's go. I've always been a fan of Jacob Fatu, even on the indies. Like for a guy that size to be that athletic, to be able and do flips and stuff and like moonsaults, I just wish.
And that's strong.
And
yeah.
Not just a moonsault, a jumping moonsault from
Right.
the middle to the top and over.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something I dream about doing, but I don't think I'll ever do it.
Now that we're kind of talking about what's going on currently, what do you watch of the current product, or what do you make sure to watch, or what piques your interest now? We're inundated with so much wrestling now, so you kind of got to pick and choose with what you want to watch. What do you watch of the current product?
Well, now that Raw's on Netflix, I'm catching that every week.
Yep.
But other than that, I'm usually just watching the 20-minute highlights on YouTube, all the important stuff that WWE puts out, and I'll catch all the PLEs on Peacock when they're on there. Other than that, I'm just watching not AEW. So I can't get into AEW. Nothing makes sense.
I'm not judging here. I'm actually, my ears are wide open. I'm glad we came to this. We're going to get to that in a second.
Right.
Go ahead.
I think WWE is cooking on another level right now, just with how much talent they have.
For sure.
And then bringing like Penta and just seeing what Penta's been able to do in the 2 weeks. It's a little watered down for Penta, but I think that's the WWE style. They need to like slow down a little bit, like, which is I think he needs, because he's done great. Like him and Gable was fantastic. So,
before Nick interrupts and talks about AEW, I want to ask you, where you say WWE is cooking at a new level. This Rumble coming up next Saturday is absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
Who do you see coming away with the win? Because I don't have a clear-cut picture as who I wanted to walk out of there.
There's so many good options that absolutely make sense. There's like 15 guys right now that could win, and it all makes sense. There's a storyline there. There's something, but the one guy I really see winning it, if you want my honest opinion, is number 31, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the final boss, breaking all the rules and telling Roman, "Fuck you, guy. This is my spot this year." and that's just it's a crazy, wild prediction because he just had the babyface turn. But how you can always swerve back. You can always double swerve. And I just turned babyface at the last PLE, and now I'm going back heel and screwing everybody.
Yeah.
That's like in the back of my head. That's what I'm thinking. 31, The Rock comes out and everybody's in shock and he wins. But if I had to pick out of the 30 guys that are going to be in it, I hate to say this because I'm not a CM Punk guy, but I'm putting my money on CM Punk because he is the draw. I'm not a fan of CM Punk. I never have been. He's my number 2, hated on right under Hogan. I just can't stand CM Punk. But the guy's a draw. The guy makes money. He brings people in. The people love him. They don't care about my opinion. I'm one guy. That's fine. He makes tons of money. I get it. That don't mean I gotta like him. But I think he's gonna win. It just makes sense to screw Cena out of a run, to screw Roman out of whatever. To go for Cody or whatever. And it just makes the money is there with CM Punk.
If Punk and Hogan fought, who would you root for?
I don't even know. I couldn't decide.
When you said that, I'm like, I know what I'm asking next.
I guess whichever one doesn't get hurt first.
Talk to me about AEW. I think what you're.
And I'll tell you, I get all my information.
I just want to preface it because I think I know what you're going to say, and I think what you're saying is fair and needs to be brought up. But I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you talk about AEW.
I I watch some AEW highlights, little videos online, but I get a lot of my information from Jim Cornette's reviews of AEW. So, because we see the product similarly about it's kind of crappy and shitty booking. So it just, nothing makes sense over there. It just, they'll be doing something with people one week, and then the next week it's something totally different. And then 3 weeks later, they're back to doing what they were doing before they were doing the thing. And then it's like, they're just jumping around all over the place over there. And I'm not saying I could do it better by any means, but what he got going on over there at AEW just ain't working for, I think, anybody.
I can agree with that.
I mean, Kenny Omega did a backflip off the thing the other night, and the camera was paying somewhere else. Missed the whole shot.
Missed it. Production value, night and day difference. Storytelling, night and day difference.
Oh yeah,
there is a lot of talent over there. I will say that.
Oh yeah, tons of talent. But I think
it just seems to be
talent's unhappy, so they're not gonna. They're only, they're putting in this much effort, and Tony wants this much, but Tony's putting in this much effort, and so they're like, oh, why should we give you everything we got when you're not doing everything for us?
I'll compare it to this, like WWE. They're like a basketball organization that's run to a T. AEW feels like a pickup basketball game.
Right.
Whoever shows up that week is who we're going to throw on TV, and we're going to just give you match after match with really no reason to. And that's what it feels like to me.
Right. Yeah, it's like, let's throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yep. Bingo.
And they're so oversaturated with talent that a lot of these younger stars, I've said his name before. I'll call out Ricky Starks any day of the week. He should be a made man by now.
Top guy.
And they have just
top guy
him
over there. And then, but you got, I used to love Edge, and now I can't stand the guy when he comes on my TV. Like, I just don't. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't get it. Because I know, like I said, there's an expiration date with everything. Like, shit like this. Physical abilities do go away. And I'm not saying he can't go, but like, bro, you broke both your legs last year. Like, do you really need to keep doing this stuff? You're a bazillionaire.
Right?
What are you trying to prove?
What? Yeah, you bring up.
You came back from a broken freaking neck. Like, what else do you need to prove?
I'm kind of in that same boat with you. We're talking here with Viktor Payn, the Card Subject to Change podcast. I'm in that same boat when Edge or Adam Copeland or Cope come on my screen now. I'm not nearly as excited as I used to be.
Right. I mean, that dude had the biggest Rumble pop of all time.
Ever. Biggest Rumble pop ever. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Now, when he comes out, there's crickets. He's got to tell people to cheer for him and stuff. It's like, that ain't Edge. That ain't the Edge I grew up with.
No, absolutely. I can agree with that 100%. Viktor, let me steer things back a little bit towards you here. I want to ask you, said you've been in the business about 5 years now. What was that moment where you realized I absolutely have to do this? What brought you in, and what was it like getting into the business?
It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because when I was 19, me and my best friend at the time wanted to be a tag team. So we went to IPW the Vault training facility, and stayed, did a day workout or whatever with them. And we were there, and a guy had a pretty bad ankle injury at the time that day. And my buddy kind of scared him off a little bit, and he had second thoughts. And me, I still wanted to go, but I didn't pull the trigger. So fast forward 10 years, we go. I just lost my mother. I was in a real dark spot. I asked Shank to go to CEW Bridge City Slam 2 down there. I was like, hey, let's go. I got my buddies in the car. We loaded up the car and we went. and Shank was telling me all about how he's going to be training with IPW and doing all this stuff, or he was training, and the next training class was coming up. So he's like, you need to do it. You need to do it. And then I just literally went to bed and thought about it and woke up the next day and messaged Troy Peterson, and that's all she wrote. I was in class the next week and we were off. So it was, I guess, Shank Eubanks kind of tugging the chain, trying to pull me in, because we used to do MMA. We used to be kind of rivals here in our home county when we were younger. But he didn't, when we started hanging out and being friends and like became real good friends, he's like, you need to start training, because we can do this thing. And then now look at where we are 3-4 years later. APW is rising. We're here on top, like best in the Midwest, baby. APW.
What was Victor, what was the hardest thing for you in training? What was the hardest thing for you to overcome? The hardest thing for maybe you to grasp that took you a long time to get over?
My I guess my nervousness, I have no people skills. So being able to perform in front of people, it was like, I don't know, one of the things when I used to fight MMA, I'd like freeze up a bit coming out, and I'd freeze up and my mind would go blank and not knowing what to do. So that was pretty much getting comfortable in front of a crowd and not messing up. And when you do mess up, adjust and try to not make it look like you messed up. That's probably the hardest part, was getting in front of, a crowd of people and try to do it perfect.
I like that.
That and the rolls, I get dizzy. The back rolls they were hard at first, but then, you work on it and you work on it and you work on it. And now I'm pretty all right. I've been doing DDPY for probably 3 years now. So everybody's seen me do the splits in the ring and all that stuff. And I wouldn't be able to do that without DDPY for sure. So
sure.
No doubt. Let's expand on that a little bit here. Talk about coming out of training, what that was like for your first match. What was going through your mind before you came out in the curtain, and what it was like getting in the ring for the first time in front of people?
My first match, I got told I was wrestling about 20 minutes before it happened. So we showed up, it was during COVID times, and the Vault was doing the online Vault shows at the time. And I just showed up to be part of the crowd. And then they were like, Death Dealer needs an opponent. You want to wrestle Death Dealer? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And we literally said, what do you want to do? Oh, well, let's not plan anything. Let's go out there and just do it. And we just did it. And it was like good 10 minutes, probably 8 minutes. But it was a good learning experience for just being, it's one of them show up prepared and you'll be rewarded type of thing, So it was nice.
Right. Do you have any? So this will come up every once in a while. I'll ask this, and Zach Takis and I were actually talking about questions we ask on each other's respective podcasts to guests that we have. Something that I don't bring up often enough. Do you have any kind of ritual or superstition or routine to get geared up for a match or a show the day of, the week of, building into that next show?
Not really. I guess my only ritual is I got a pair of fuzzy socks I wear. That's about it. So they're just comfortable. I gotta have comfortable feet. Other than that, it's get geared up, try to stay relaxed so my feet cramp up really bad when I'm tightened up my boots. So I try not to put them on until about 20 minutes before I'm going out. And then other than that, it's just stay stretched and ready. And then about when I know it's our turn next, I get into that. I turn Victor on a lot, and then I get in a different mind space. I just kind of go away somewhere else and just get in the zone. And
I'll ask the other end of that question. After a match, after a big show like last night, how long does it take you to come back down, to get back down to even keel?
Oh, probably about an hour.
Okay.
At least, for the adrenaline to wear off. and then I'll start crashing. Like last night I had guys stomping all over me in my gut and chest, and I was blown up, and I literally went right for the door. I went outside and I threw up.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah. I was exhausted last night, but sometimes that just happens. And then you just go back and sit down 5 minutes, drink some water. You're good.
So, Victor, I want to talk more about last night in APW, and we've got so much more to talk about too. But we've got to take our quick obligatory break. Otherwise, the podcast tribal DJ will yell at me for not hyping the other shows on the network. And I don't like being yelled at by DJ. It's never fun. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we also have our moment of focus with JT Energy. We are here with Viktor Payn on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Card Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Head on over to the hardwood with Doug Green and Watching the W each week for all the news from the WNBA. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Dan Hancock and Gotham Gambling will help you cover the spread with the Golden Ticket Show. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellas come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Welcome back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to the show. You are watching Card Subject to Change. We are sitting down with Viktor Payn, but before we get into this man's more of his story, we've got to toss things over to our good friend, Mr. JT Energy, and he's going to give us a moment to focus.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And this week, the boys at the Card Subject to Change podcast, well, you, my friends, you were interviewing Viktor Payn. That's the last thing I want right now. But you know what? Sometimes you need to go through a little bit of pain. That brings me to this week's moment of focus. See, in this world, there's a lot of ponds. And as we grow, we become the big fish in that pond. So don't forget, as you grow, as you learn, as you progress, if you become the big fish in a little pond, go through a little bit of pain to become the small fish in the next big pond. And that, my friends, will start your next segment of growth. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
Those are so great.
He knocked it out of the park again, man.
love
JT Energy with a moment of focus here. Thank you so much for contributing again to the Card Subject to Change podcast, man. He's good. He's got great production values. Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
We talked about how much pain you were in last night, no pun intended. I want to know how you became Viktor Payn.
SmackDown versus Raw 2008.
Okay.
My created character.
That
was one of the only names they would say like they would announce your name. You'd pick a name and they'd announce it. It was one of the only name combos I liked that they would actually announce on the game. So that's it. Literally, I made a character, Viktor Payn, ever since then. That's been my go-to wrestling name.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, so many guys would probably come up with a BS story because they didn't want to tie to a video game. Dude, I think that's great. I think it
was my created character on WWE games, so it always had it done.
That is awesome. I love that, man. I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah. Then there's really no. It's just as simple as that. I created a character. I made him what I thought I would want to be as a wrestler, and Viktor Payn just had a ring to it. And I was like, all right, that's because I like to inflict pain, and I've been through a lot of pain, and I'm going to go through a lot of pain. So
are you still a big gamer? Do you get the current games every year? Or
Yep. Right now you're currently on my in my like gaming area. Like I got 3 screens set up and one on the wall. I used to do a little bit of streaming video games, so I got my PC I built over here, and like I got. If this doesn't tell you I'm a gamer, I don't know what will.
Oh yes.
Instead of a keyboard, I'd use this because it's got a little thing for like
cool
analog stick. So I wouldn't have, because my hands are, from fighting and stuff, I can't really use a keyboard the best. So that thing, it's like a controller in your hand. It's got 26 buttons on it, and that thing's the best. And you can still use your mouse to aim and stuff. And so, yeah, I probably got 30K worth of games wrapped up in a hard drive over here on my Steam account. So I'm a gamer. I don't as much anymore because, 35, I'm getting older, harder to find time between wrestling and work and nephews and nieces, extracurricular activities, and trying to make time to be there for family still on top of trying to be successful in wrestling.
Sure.
So
sure.
games take a back seat, but I still try to find maybe 6 hours a week, 10 hours a week to sit down and get some gaming in.
I'm the same way. It's hard to find time to get gaming in when work and life and wrestling, because I have no life. I'll fully admit that. It's wrestling, it's work, it's sleep, and if I can get an occasional video game in there, I will. Now incorporating going to the gym in there,
right?
It makes even less time, but you got to make time for what you love to do, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Viktor, I got a question for you. Do you collect any type of wrestling stuff? You said you like the game. Do you collect wrestling stuff? Like, what is your favorite or most prized wrestling piece of memorabilia?
If I had to pick, I got this 3 weeks before he died, so I'd have to pick this one.
Can you hold it a little closer to the camera?
Oh wow!
Ah, okay.
I got this from Mike. I got this from Mike Vandy.
Okay,
3 or 4 weeks before he passed, and I was like, "This is probably my holy grail right now."
Okay, that's a really cool piece, man. That's really cool.
Yes,
I got like Hook and AJ Styles and Sting here, Wardlow. I collect autographs. Thanks, Vandy. Vandy got me into Vandy and Shank got me into autographs and stuff. So I got like piles and piles of autograph pictures and a few. I got like these little superstars hanging out. Got the Ric Flair over here.
You had Undertaker there. The thing he showed us, I want to tell our listeners, the thing he showed us earlier, the first piece was an autographed Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
Blowing out the lantern. So
this is a ruthless aggression era Batista.
That's an evolution Batista. Yeah.
Signed $40 for this bad boy. So yeah, I got a little collection going on that it ain't much, but it means a lot to me. So
I think
that a lot of the guys that I like that I think that I like Wardlow. God, what an underrated dude that doesn't get used, right?
Let's talk about him, because CZ and I feel the same exact way. What are
another
they
top
doing?
guy that should be there?
What's going on? What is going on?
I don't know. It's got to be Tony Khan, right? Like when it comes down to it, it's got to be the guy signing your contract or making you sign a contract with. like he's doing with Ricky Starks. Like Ricky said that he had hospital bills that Tony didn't pay, and now Ricky's stuck with the bill. Well, Tony's like, well, I pay you so much money, you should be able to take care of your own hospital bills or whatever. And I'm like, that don't seem skosh and a gauche to me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because I think that's the same thing with Ray Phoenix right now. He's been injured. Tony didn't help him with his medical bills. Ray's pissed off, and now they're doing the whole contract dispute because he's been injured and stuff. So I just don't think Tony Khan is a wrestling guy, but he's a wrestling fan in control of a company.
Yes.
He's got his own little toy box and unlimited money behind him. So
exactly. I was just thinking the same thing. He's got his 1988 WWE ring, and he gets a new action figure every week to play. And when he gets tired of that action figure, he throws him to the side and brings the next one in.
Right. Like Chris Jericho's another.
He's got the action figure you can't find anywhere else. He's got all the cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't have the one that you have to have because that's the one that the store has. He's got everything. Sorry to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
I was just like Chris Jericho's another one of them guys. I thought 5 years ago, before AEW got started, and maybe the first year of AEW, Chris Jericho was my GOAT. He was the greatest of all time, in my opinion. And now in the last 5 years, he's tarnished that. And he's not my number one GOAT anymore because of the last 5 years. The first 30 years before that, probably the greatest of all time, like in my opinion.
Sure.
But the last 5 years, I can't see it anymore. Now Roman is to me. So that's how much. And I was not a Roman. I used to hate Roman. As much as, and then he turned heel, and I was like, this is what we've always wanted out of Roman.
And Bloodline Roman special.
Bloodline Roman, I became a Roman guy, and I was. The more people complain, the more I was like, he's doing it right.
You're there to get a reaction, and if you are not getting a reaction one way or another, you are not doing your job.
Yep.
Now, with Roman, when he was being crammed down our throat, he was getting the wrong reactions for what they wanted.
When Paul Heyman started talking for him,
yes,
that's when when you took the mic out of Roman's hands, his game went up. He didn't have to focus on cutting promos because he was all he guaranteed he was always worried about fucking something up because he was known for that. So he was probably always, when he didn't have to focus on cutting a perfect promo, he could soar with what he could do.
And I look back, I wrote an article on this last week about the promo with John Cena where he forgot a line and Cena went off script. So not having to worry about cutting promos makes him that much better.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big promo guy.
You're not a big who?
I'm not a big promo guy. I can't. I hate seeing myself on camera. I'm like, you can see me nervous, twitching and shit. I'm like, I hate seeing myself. So I cut probably 100 promos before I find the one I send to, if I'm cutting one that week, whatever, 100 videos that I'll be like, nope, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right.
I think when we talked about Roman there, his promos were his weakness. If he had to get rid of his weakness to just focus on his strengths, they did the right thing. And he's introducing Heyman to all that just made everything so much better. Unbelievable. Okay. What's Roman's match at WrestleMania this year? What's going to happen with the tribal chief at WrestleMania?
Well, I think it's him and Cody again, which it makes sense and it doesn't, it makes sense because Roman wants his belt back and all that. But if it doesn't happen, maybe CM Punk. If CM Punk doesn't win the Rumble next week, obviously. But that's the only, because with Jacob Fatu being called the tribal werewolf, that makes me think he's going to join Roman at some point and be his enforcer again.
Okay.
So I don't know. You can do anything because they're not the new bloodline anymore. Because Solo got beat and.
Since that tribal combat match on the premiere on Netflix, the new bloodline has been more or less disbanded at this point. At least that's what it seems. Solo's been MIA. Jacob's been on his own with Tonga, and
right.
they're going a different direction, and I like it.
I guess we could see Roman Rock. I mean, that I kind of want to see it, but also I kind of don't.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you mean.
Like it would have been great last year, maybe. I think if Roman and Rock had that. But then also last year would have screwed Cody out of his deal. So, which that was also the right move. So, because Cody is just taken with the WWE, like he's a top guy. He is.
Oh, you're talking Cody.
Yeah, Cody. Cody. Yeah, when they put the belt on Cody, it's like you never would have seen that 5 years ago out of Cody in AEW.
Do they turn him heel?
I think they should right after Mania.
I think it's I think that's the big thing coming out of Mania.
Right. It's definitely a Homelander turn. Like, you know, they always refers to him as Homelander anyway. So why not lean into it?
Right.
We could see a heel Cody for a while. I bet heel Cody could stay on top just as good as a babyface Cody.
I saw something last night after we record this we're talking to Viktor Payn here on the Card Subject to Change podcast. As we record on a Sunday, last night was the second installment of the new Saturday night's main event. And you've got Cody in the ring for the contract signing. You've got KO in the ring. And I saw a tweet last night, and it was by a friend of ours, friend of the show, Tim Regal. And he compared it to, just look at the ring. Flair, Cody is Flair, and KO is Dusty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It totally is.
Makes sense.
So let's go at it full steam. And I think he turns heel
right
either at Mania or because of Mania.
Right. Yep. Sure. Oh, that makes sense. Because somebody could screw him out of his title.
Ooh. Bingo.
Damn. Yeah. I think there's so many avenues that they could go down and they all make sense.
Yeah.
The storytelling has been so good up to this point. Like, here's all your roads you can take. You know, there's so many of them, and they all make sense. So,
do you have a favorite show you go back and watch maybe over and over again? An old pay-per-view or a series of matches you ever go back and watch over and over again, or that's near and dear to your heart?
I can't really say I do. Go back and watch. I guess I will put on WrestleMania 23 anytime because I was there, and that shit lives in my fresh memory. That was Batista and Taker, like, match of the night, tore it down that night. Being there for that was, and Cena ripping through the glass facing Shawn Michaels was fantastic. Like, it's just, that's one of the best Manias, and I can watch that one anytime.
Okay. So, there you go, man. There you go. Did you have you have good seats?
We were on the other side of the entrance, about halfway up the risers.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, it's Ford Field, so the whole field was flat.
Yep.
So, and then you're up on the other side. But Taker's entrance, the flames would come out of the stage. They do the little burst, and we're 120 yards away. Oh God, it's hot! What the hell is that? I couldn't understand how those people right next to it were taking it. I was feeling the heat burst on the other side of the arena. So I was like, I'll never forget that. Because that was, oh shit, bumped my desk. that was crazy. Taker coming out, and those flames were like 30, 40 feet in the air.
Sure.
And you just feel the heat all the way across. What a memorable moment.
So, Victor, as we're closing in on the hour, and we can go longer, we can go shorter, we can go. It's Card Subject to Change. We can do whatever we want. But I would feel bad if we didn't focus on last night's event, because we've touched on it, we've kind of hinted around it. Talk about your mentality, and I've asked this to a number of people over the last couple of weeks. Talk about your mentality going into a Rumble-style match and how it's different from any other match.
Well, you see, you got to worry about 29 other men. So that's the biggest worry. I'm a big guy, but I met some big dudes in the ring last night, and just you always, like Mike Tyson always said, you always have a plan until you get hit in the face. So just really getting prepared and making sure that you're out of the way for certain spots and other things, safety first, other than that, it's really remembering who's where, who's coming out when, what do I got, where do I got to be at this time. So,
and with that many wheels turning, that's got to be quite the challenge for everybody.
Yeah, it can be. I know my first battle royal, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and they're like, just kick and punch, and then you get out there, and then you got a guy pulling on your arm, hey, take a bump, and I'm like, we're not supposed to, so, like we're supposed to be not taking bumps in a battle royal. So, so being prepared for audibles like that in the moment is like when you're like, wait a minute, and then you just do it anyway, and then get yelled at later. Always ask for forgiveness and never permission. So.
You triggered a memory for me. I used to be, and I say used to be, I would still listen if I had time, but used to be a big fan of listening to Conrad's podcasts, especially Something to Wrestle With. And whenever him and Bruce Pritchard would talk about a battle royal, one word just kept coming up. You talking about kicking and punching, that's all you're doing. Forearm, 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 forearm. They just said that on repeat for any episode they're talking about a battle royal.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Victor, what having been, you've only been in the business for about 5 years. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What does the next 5 years look like for Viktor Payn?
Well, that's a hard one. Hopefully, I need to get in the car more and go around to different promotions and help out and try to get booked and just be more involved with the business. I want to be like, because I'm 35. So I started when I was 30. So another 5 years, I'll be 40. So, not that I'm saying I'll be done by any means, but I think maybe later on getting into a more of a helpful teaching role, like roles coaching type of teach other big guys, some big guy stuff, maybe just being like a coach type, just passing on the information that I've learned and been given to the next group of guys that are coming in probably.
Okay. What, let me build off of that a little bit. I'm going to ask a 2-part question. What advice would you give the you from 5 years ago now? And what advice do you have for the younger talent that is coming into the business now?
Well, I got one answer for both questions. Get in shape, fatty, because that, when I started, I was about 320 pounds. So now I'm about 270. Oh, so it's definitely cardio. So I wish I would have maybe taken some more time to get in better shape before I started. But I guess if I'm telling the younger guys anything, it's don't let your ego go to your head. Like, I have a few times, I'll admit it, it happens. Like, oh, they're going to put the belt on you. Yeah, I'm big shit. Oh, and then you step back and you're, it's like, okay, they believe in me. They're doing this for a reason. I got to not fuck up. So, and I just don't let your head get too big for the game, because, there's always somebody waiting in line.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You all right there, partner?
I am.
Oh, I feel it. I got the lung butter going on today too. From the chest stomps. They worked a lot of stuff out last night.
I have the craziest set of allergies that are year round, and I just can't get rid of them. Victor, let's focus on you a little bit here and tell everybody where they can find you on social medias if they want to look you up, and where they can see you coming up here in the next couple weeks, couple of months in the ring.
Sure. Right now I'm only on Facebook and TikTok. My TikTok's Viktor Payn 54. I'm going to get better about posting some clips and, moves and chunks of matches on there. And right now Facebook, Viktor Payn on Facebook is really, I don't have an Instagram. And I don't do Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I haven't ever done. I think I have one on there, but I don't ever access it or use it. But I know we got the next Absolute show March 8th in Des Moines down at the Hall, new venue. So that's pretty exciting. And then you can catch me at every APW show, I hope, coming up all year. I know they're my main right now, so I try to, if they're offering me bookings, I take them first, and then maybe this year I'll try to work around them. So I need to I got about a month and a half here where I'm not doing anything, so maybe next month I'll get on the road and hit up a couple guys and try to go to a few spots and maybe get in somewhere.
Yeah, hell yeah. I did it again, Nick. I lost my train of thought.
Happens to me all the time.
It seems to happen here on this show, but no, we've been chatting it up here with Viktor Payn, here on episode 170 of Bringing the Pain. What's the big goal here in 2025? We're just getting through the first month here, but
right,
where do you want to be at the end of this year? Professionally.
Hopefully, getting some gold wrapped around my waist again. That was nice. That was always to continue to improve and get better, keep working out, and just try to get, just like I said, try to get reps in for me. It's my only goal. I don't really have set. It's always nice to be the champion, but that, I got more work to do for that. I definitely got more work to do for that.
Sure.
So I'm going to be hustling a little more this year, I think, because I said it last year and then I didn't. I got a little lazy after I won the belt in 2023. I had 10 or 12 title defenses, and then I lost it and I got a little lazy. So I guess it's maybe I just need to hit that dark spot again and go back to the gnarliness and just get real nasty with it again and get back to the top.
They say we learn more from our losses, right?
Right. Yep, I
go ahead.
I get lazy. I get lazy sometimes for a couple weeks, and that really sets me back. So, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Consistency. That's it.
Yes.
I need to be more consistent.
Consistency over complacency.
Right.
That's a good motto to have. Yep. And I'll be honest, Viktor, I was talking with a couple of the guys yesterday. You got to put yourself out there, and I would love to see you more places coming into 2025. So sure. I know I've talked to a couple of younger guys who are just getting their feet wet and made a few suggestions. I'm not going to make any suggestions on the air, but definitely would love to see you more often.
Right.
Yeah. So
my weekends are open. So
and that being said, we have had a very fun conversation talking about all things wrestling, and I think we just scratched the surface. I think you'd be a great conversation anytime. So if you want to come back on the show, you are always more than welcome.
Anytime you guys want me on, I'm available. So
awesome.
We love to talk. We love to talk wrestling, and we had a good time here today talking about wrestling and fandom and all that stuff. So, dude, I loved having you on. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Hell yeah, it's a pleasure being here, guys.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And that is going to wrap up today's episode of Card Subject to Change. Normally, we would see you midweek for our midweek show, The Kickout, but we are canceling that show this week just for 1 week only because we have something special. I announced it on socials last night. We will be joined by SCW Pros Timothy Regal and Alex McCarthy, Zach Takis from Shotgun Wrestling Radio, the voice of Iron Spirit Pro, the in-ring announcer, as well as one of the in-ring announcers from Dreamwave, Mr. DB from the Sit Down Marks podcast. We will be talking all things Royal Rumble. in our Royal Rumble panel show. That is this Wednesday at 7. So be sure to tune in. We will see you then. And we will also see you back here next week on Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Thank you so much for tuning in here with us with Viktor Payn. For my partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ, and we will see you next time right here on the podcast for you.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.